always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Live from Washington, D.C., a special edition of the program all week, and we're kicking out another brand new hour here, the Steve Gruber Show. From the biggest foxhole of freedom, the nation's capital, which always makes me ask, who do you want in your foxhole? When things hit the fan, who do you want to be shoulder to shoulder? A lot of work to do here today. Three big things to start. Number one, the Trump administration not backing off on hitting drug-running boats from Venezuela in the open ocean, saying they will stop the poison flowing into America no matter what. Number two, President Trump made a major announcement yesterday in the Roosevelt Room about helping kids in tough neighborhoods and start saving money at an early age. And it was jump-started by $6.25 billion from Dell. We'll tell you about that. And number three, like I said, I'm in D.C. all week. Had a chance to ask President Trump about the state of our economy yesterday during a big announcement in the Roosevelt Room. Take a look at this.
We also saw that they're going to spend $1 trillion on Christmas this year. $1 trillion. Yeah. Increasing 4.1%. 25 states, gas is below $3. A handful below $2.50 and getting better. Yeah. Energy policy matters.
I like this guy.
And timing matters.
Who are you with?
Real American Voice.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
But
I like it very much. Keep talking.
So if you invest with these children now, the economy, the better the economy is, better for the children, right? We're in a pretty good spot right now.
Well, I do, and I appreciate it. No, we have an amazing thing. We have over almost $20 trillion of investment coming in.
You know why he liked the question? Because I pointed out what the mainstream media won't. There's a lot to celebrate right now. A lot when it comes to the economy. Wins that the Democrats are trying to bury with spin, and their media lapdogs are letting them, but not me. Trump laid out a few more of those wins on the investment as he continued answering my question. Here it is.
But we have now under construction, I guarantee you're expanding a lot of your different places, right, for Dell. But we have places like that. We have car companies. We have AI coming in at levels. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. It's amazing. And all of these places, hundreds and hundreds of plants, thousands, they're going to be opening, and they're going to be producing a lot of success, a lot of jobs. And I say it all the time. The king of Saudi Arabia said to me a year ago, he said, 1 year ago, your country was dead. And now you've got the hottest country anywhere in the world, and that's what we have. And
yeah. I haven't been shy about demanding that the White House focus on affordability. I still stand by that. It's critical for the midterm elections. But I think it's important to point out when wins come along. When we get them, we got to talk about it. And point out the coddling of the American consumer when I see it. Listen to this. I'd be lying if I didn't say I'm a little tired of watching middle-class Americans complaining about affordability when I see two new SUVs in the driveway, when they have every streaming service under the sun, get their dinner door-dashed to the house more nights than not, feel the need for every kid over the age of 7 to own an iPhone, have TVs in every room, and are using financing plans to pay for luxury clothes and gadgets that they don't need and frankly can't afford. I sympathize with the parents working 2 jobs to get food on the table, but not when they're getting that food delivered by Uber Eats with a brand new Chevy Suburban in the driveway with leather interior and all the bells and whistles. Maybe you think that sounds harsh, but it needs to be said. And data from last weekend proves my point. The American consumer is still consuming at record levels. During the Biden administration, the media tried to get us to believe things that they were better than they actually were. But now, during the Trump administration, the media is predictably pushing the narrative that things are just terrible. The economy is just awful, they want us to believe. Just take a look at this piece from The Atlantic, arguing that Trump is waging war on Christmas by making it expensive. Give me a break. They got tired of the Hitler label, so now they're comparing him to the Grinch. Sounds like an abuse of the holiday spirit to me. The reality is this: inflation is below 3%. Wages are up 2.5%. Gas prices are down, and Americans are breaking out the MasterCard for holiday shopping at levels we've never seen before. Let's start with those gas prices. Even CNN now forced to admit, at least on occasion, the truth about what people are paying at the pump. Here it is.
We've got 20 states across the country where the average is actually less than $2.75 a gallon, including North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Colorado as well. Certainly nice to see this. Why is this happening? Well, it all comes down, of course, to oil prices, right? Oil prices are about $59 a barrel this morning. You look back in history, on December 1, 3 years ago, we're looking at $81 a barrel for oil, $67 even last year. So significantly cheaper. And that's because right now, supply of oil continues to outpace demand. It's U.S. supply. Production in the U.S. is at all-time highs.
Yeah. Who would have thought? Good energy policy leads to great prices and a good economy. Imagine that. Energy Secretary Chris Wright says the climate hysteria is dying down. Even worldwide, countries are following in America's footsteps little by little because they're watching our success. Here he is again.
It is. I think we've seen peak climate crazy. We've brought common sense back to Washington, and it is contagious. You know, Canada just scrapped their carbon rules that were suppressing their oil production, their ability to build pipelines. You see reversals in most of the European nations. It's just common sense. People are starting to think about their citizens again, about cost of living, about jobs. And of course, when you look back at 30 years of COP climate conferences, nothing substantive came out of them.
Right.
A lot of money, a lot of ink, a lot of promises.
Yeah, a lot of promises. Now, when the pendulum swings too far in one direction, it's bound to come back around, and it is. People are tired of the hysteria, the empty promises from the climate alarmists. It cost us years of progress and, frankly, trillions of dollars, but at least under Trump's leadership, the green agenda is going away. And why wouldn't everyone else want to follow suit when they see consumers like this Colorado woman finally excited about having to pump gas? Fired up about it, in fact. Listen to her.
The gas was $1.82, and I just paid under $16 for the gas. Colorado. I'm literally shocked.
$1.82 in dark blue Colorado. You're welcome. Thanksgiving travel was the busiest on record this year. 82 million people traveled more than 50 miles from home. And with prices like that, I'm not shocked to hear that. Neither are you. The national average for gasoline is under $3 a gallon, the lowest price since 2021 and dropping by the day. In oil states like Oklahoma, the average is $2.40. Some stations, like you just saw, have prices below $2 a gallon. And this is all while the White House is building back up our reserves that Biden emptied out. And according to Trump, here he is.
We're going to be, I think, at $2 a gallon. We could even crack that at some point. I'd love to do it. And we could do it more easily if we weren't building up the strategic national reserves, which Biden emptied out before the election so that he could try and get elected.
Yeah, empty them out so you could try to get elected, try to impact gas prices. But you know what impacts gas prices? Actual energy policy from people like Chris Wright and this administration is working. When I come back, total Black Friday sales and the prediction for Christmas. It's remarkable. Good morning from Washington, D.C. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, so Black Friday sales. I want to go over this with you. Kevin Hassett has been talking about it. He's the economic advisor to the president. $26 billion, over $26 billion, up 4.1% from last year for Black Friday sales, up 10.5% online. Consumers spent a tremendous amount of money, $11.8 billion online, $5.1 million a minute they were spending online. I think that's why all the boxes are on my front step. White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett called it the best Black Friday ever, in fact. Here he is.
The fact is that we just had the best Black Friday that we've ever seen. And it's not just because people are out there, taking debt on their credit cards. It's because incomes are way up under President Trump. They dropped about $3,000 a person, $6,000 a family under Joe Biden. And it's up $1,500 a person so far this year. And with all that extra money and with the government shutdown over so people feel comfortable going back to stores, that we're seeing a really blowout, Thanksgiving and Christmas coming our way. I think all the retailers expect that both online and in-store sales are going to be the highest we've ever seen. And the point is that that's happening even though inflation is way, way down under President Trump. And it was 5-10% under Biden, and right now it's running at about 2.5%. And it's way lower than wage growth. Right? And so people's incomes are going up by way more than inflation. And that's why we're seeing these blowout sales.
Inflation down, wages up, blowout sales. That's right. Listen to this. Holiday spending projected to top $1 trillion this year for the first time ever. $1 trillion just in Christmas shopping. Sounds like Christmas is doing pretty well. Trump isn't waging any kind of war on the holiday. He's embracing it. Hassett laid out some pretty important metrics when it comes to affordability, that's for sure. Affordability still needs to be this administration's priority here at home. But when you look at the metrics, it's clear that we're seeing strides in this area. A loss of thousands in income under Joe Biden, a gain of $1,500 under Donald Trump on average, and that's huge. And when we complain about affordability, we need to focus on the root issues. Once again, a problem handed down by the previous administration. Vice President J.D. Vance lays it out pretty well right here.
That it is absurd that Democrats talk about an affordability crisis that they created and the people around this table work every single day to address. If you look at every affordability crisis that's confronting the American people today, it is traceable directly to a problem caused by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Why did homes get so unaffordable? Because we had 20 million illegal aliens in this country taking homes that ought by right to go to American citizens. Why did tax bills get so unaffordable? Because Democrats were raising taxes while congressional Republicans under the president's leadership were now cutting taxes. Why did food get so expensive? Because we printed trillions of dollars and threw it into green scams that made our agricultural economy suffer while Americans were paying higher prices for food. On every single one of those issues, Mr. President, I think we've made incredible progress.
Yeah, a lot of damage. Damage was done over the course of 4 years. It takes time to undo that. It can't happen overnight, which is why I want to encourage you, if you're not feeling discouraged, not to throw in the towel on the people we elected. I'm seeing some, not all, but some voters express their reluctance to even get to the polls next year because things aren't perfect. It'd be a big mistake. Do not give up. Progress is being made, and I believe the best is still yet to come. Take, for instance, Trump's promise to carry out deportations. ICE and DHS have been empowered like never before to find the people who shouldn't be here in the first place and get them out. They're reviewing visas, tracking down criminals, sealing the border, all the things we voted for. That's going to continue to have a big impact on affordability. You heard the vice president. Illegal aliens have a huge impact on the housing market, for example. Look no further than California, who gets an F from the retailer report card from realtors on affordability and home building. It ranks in the bottom 5 states in the U.S. in those categories. Yet it's something that liberal Democrats are always talking about. Lots of talk, no real solutions. Like far-left radical Tom Steyer running as a Democrat in the governor's race again. Here's what he said.
I love California. Californians love California. The problem for Californians is they can't afford to live in California. And that starts in a major way with housing. Why are rents so high? Because we don't have enough houses. Why is it so expensive to buy a house? Because we don't have enough houses. And why do we have this huge homelessness issue? Because we don't have enough houses.
Yeah, his solution, build more homes. Just like that. Snap your fingers. It's magic, apparently. California needs more than 3 million homes for low-income families right now. There are an estimated 2.3 million illegals living in California. I think the number is much higher, but that's one estimate. They don't have an affordability problem. They have an immigration problem. That's a fact. But you'll never hear a Democrat run with that messaging, that's for sure. Thankfully, Gavin Newsom isn't in charge of the United States. But if we decide to throw in the towel on this administration because we fall for the media's spin on affordability, he could be. Think about that. So enjoy the wins when we get them. Don't forget the true adversaries to affordability, a government that spends on things like the green agenda, and a government that allows in tens of millions of illegals. Do your part. Don't sit this one out. We've got a ways to go, and things are getting better. How about that? $1.84 a gallon for gas. You'd like that, wouldn't you? Of course you would. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you woke up feeling truly energized? Well, that's exactly what Longevity Wellness is all about. Their nutritional shake is built with protein, collagen, omega-3s, and even bovine colostrum to support your gut, joints, and brain. No gimmicks, just clean, science-backed ingredients that help you feel stronger every single day. We use it in our household every day. Start your mornings with longevity. Visit longevityWellness.co/Gruber. LongevityWellness.co/Gruber. Use that promo code Gruber for 25% off your order today. Look, everybody in the household uses it. My kid who's in sports uses it. My daughter who's in college uses it. Ivy and I both use it. Why? It's a great product. Science-backed nutrition. And if you're on a GLP-1 or some sort of a weight loss program, it'll help you maintain bone and muscle density. It's a winner all the way around. Longevity.co. Remember to use the promo code Gruber and save money today. I'll take a break and be right back. From Washington, D.C., this is The Steve Gruber Show. Now, while we're talking about the economy here, and coming up in just a few minutes, Grant Cardone is going to join me. An interview I did a couple of days ago specifically about housing, the 50-year mortgage, all those things. Grant Cardone and I are going to discuss that at length coming up. You don't want to miss that. But when you look at oil prices, oil today, right now, $59.45 for West Texas Intermediate. Brent crude, the benchmark at $63.20. The average gas price in America, like I said, is below $3 a gallon. A number of states are even below $2.50 a gallon, which to me is remarkable. Yesterday, Oklahoma was the winner. It is again today at $2.40 a gallon. For the average, that's the average price of a gallon of gas in Oklahoma. I mean, we are a long way from $5 gas, aren't we? When Joe Biden was in the White House, we're a long way from 9.1% inflation during Biden's years in the White House. Like Kevin Hassett said, now we're at 2.5%. I mean, that is night and day difference. The average mortgage for a 30-year mortgage now down to 6.5%. Is it as good as it was? No, but it's far better than it has been. 6.5% makes it possible again for people to get into their home, and hopefully before they're 40. These are all very important issues that we're looking at today. And the stock market had a couple of bad days over the last couple of weeks. Not yesterday, up a couple of hundred points. The Dow back in the 5 range. The NASDAQ at 23.4, S&P 500, 6,800 plus. These are good numbers. And if the estimates are true, $1 trillion we spent on Christmas, that would be remarkable for retailers. All right, so things are turning in the right direction. It takes time. And look, we're a long way. We're a long way from the midterms. Yesterday, however, big win for the Republicans in Tennessee, holding on to Tennessee 7. The Democrats thought they had a chance. They lost by double digits. Matt Van Epps will be the new member of Congress from Tennessee 7. So that's good news. More good news for the Republicans. Like I said, after the break here, Grant Cardone will join me. We're going to talk about housing. We're going to talk about what's happening in California. But housing is a critical component. How do you get better results? Less government. Less government. You'll hear it coming up on The Steve Gruber Show.
Jumping back into it now, let's talk about affordability. It is the biggest word that's going to impact more voters in 2026 than anything else. It's why Mamdani won in New York. It's why Trump won in November of 24. People want to have a chance in this country. And one of the things they want to have a chance to do is get a house. Young people feel that they're out of the conversation, that they don't have a shot at the American dream. Well, my next guest is going to break it down for us. Grant Cardone, CEO of Cardone Capital. He knows a lot about housing. He joins me now. Grant, good to see you.
Hey, good to be with you, Steve. Always good to be with you, man.
All right. So when I first heard about this 50-year mortgage thing, I'm like, come on, this is insane. A 50-year mortgage, you'd be on the hook forever. But I want your thoughts on it. You know a lot about housing. You have thousands of units, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't. I think they could go 100 years. So, look, here's the deal, man. Here's the deal. The 50-year will not solve the affordability problem because there's only about a $300 a month difference.
Right.
Number one. Number two, Japan has had a 50 and 100-year mortgage for years. As you know, Steve, I'm not a big fan of the single family home, but I know a lot of people out there want to own a home. The only thing that makes homes more affordable, it's not the 50-year mortgage, by the way. I have no debt on either one of my homes, so I'm not suggesting anybody buy a home, nor am I suggesting people put debt on a home, whether it's 15 years, 30 years, 50 years, or 100 years. But if you did a 50-year, that's not the problem. The problem is the home is not a great investment because it doesn't go up fast enough to keep up with the printing of money or what you call inflation. The second part of that is the only true way to make homes affordable is, well, there's probably two more ways. There's one, take rates down to about 3%. That's the easiest, fastest way. And the third solution would be to build 5 million homes. And
that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, because you could build them if you could get them approved. But the problem is, like where you live, bro, you guys can't even get approval. I mean, the only thing you can get an approval for there is to put heroin in your arm.
There's a lot of truth to that. Same thing in California. They haven't even cleaned up where the fire was around your house there, right? In Malibu. They haven't even cleaned the place up.
Four homes out of 50,000 structures that were damaged, 4 structures have been rebuilt. All 4 of those, by the way, were permitted prior. So let's say you wanted to build 5 million homes or 1 million homes in California. They need at least 1 million, probably 2 million. You would have to remove all permitting processes. So Trump would come out, and he might, by the way. They hear some of the stuff I say. He would come out and mandate, like they did the vaccine. Mandate immediate tax incentives for anything that gets fully permitted. Any build out that gets fully permitted will give you incentives to build, remove all the permits, remove the regulations, get rid of the Coastal Commission. FEMA has no involvement. Boom, build that house, and the builder and or the owner would get a tax incentive, and see what states want to get behind that. You build freaking
It's the regulations. I mean, it's the regulations that slow everything down and everything. I had a guy on yesterday talking about rare earth elements in the permitting process. It takes 10 to 15 years to get a mine going. How do you compete with China when they don't have any of those roadblocks? How do you get houses built when you got to have them, 5 million houses like you said? And then the other problem that you pointed out quite clearly is the Fed. The Fed keeps these interest rates up there, and it's killing people, whether it's a used car or a house or whatever they need. It's killing them, isn't it?
Yeah, and then a lot of people say, "Oh, it's the corporations. We can't let Blackstone buy houses." Guys, there's 52 million homes in America. The institutions only own a tiny percentage. This is not about the institutions or the big banks. It is about the Fed. Rates are too high. They need to be at 3%. Okay, that will not make homes more expensive. It'll make them more affordable. People don't pay cash for homes. They make payments. So number 2 is you can't build homes fast enough without getting rid of the regulations. It's not the cost of timber and concrete and glass. It's the cost of time to get the regulations approved. 18 permits are required in the state of California. 18 different departments. So I can go to the plumbing department. If they're not there right now, they say, hey, you got to go to the electrical department, but I can't go to the electrical department because I don't have my plumbing done yet.
And that's true. And that's true in New York City. It's true in Seattle. It's true in Michigan where I live. It's the permitting nightmare. I'm going through a house now that had a house fire, right? A rental house had a fire. We're going through it's permitting. And the other thing that's been a real problem for us, it's the power companies that have a monopoly. They've been the slowest, worst partners of everybody. They've been awful.
So, Steve, you have a rental house that had a fire. So you rented to a crack addict. They started a fire.
We didn't need to give that away on the air, but yeah, they hit the crack pipe, set the place on
They
fire.
got to
You
live
got it.
someplace too, bro. They got to live someplace too.
Yeah. So is it solvable? I mean, basically, you're saying there's all these roadblocks. What can Trump? What can the administration do to?
It's solvable. It's solvable. You get rid of the Fed.
Number one, I agree with that. It's been a nightmare since 1913. Next,
you have a mandate to have the lowest interest rates on planet Earth.
Mandate.
Permanently.
Yeah.
We should not have higher interest rates than Germany. We're a better economy. We have a better dollar. So lower interest rates, number one. Number two, no regulations. Get rid of them. Let the states fight over it. Trump is in a position to say, hey, I am going to give major federal tax dollars to any and every state that bills at scale. Remove the regulations. I will send you the money. I will drop money on your state. What that would do is further divide the states, Steve. It would basically checkmate the Democratic states that would be fighting for the money. So Illinois, Minneapolis, Massachusetts, California would be like, no, we don't want to support Trump. Good, then you don't get the money. Texas and Florida,
Tennessee, all those states. Yeah, the states that are already doing well.
And guess what? And it would divide the country further. And you want to divide the country because you want to make the division be very clear. Hey, look, if you don't want the federal money, you can't build houses. And if you do want it, get on the train, baby. Get on the Trump train. Let's blow up the economy.
I agree with you. We've got to make it possible. Now, I realize you're more of an advocate for renting, saying that it's a better use of your money than sinking money into a single-family home. You think it's a terrible investment. You've always said that. Your houses have no debt. You're in a different position, right?
Yeah, it's not good for me. I don't want more single-family homes from my, if I'm just pitching my book, a business.
Right.
But renting is and I believe that people should rent too anyway. Like buying a house is not a great investment. That's the first thing. So whether it's 50 years or 100 years or 150 years, you're only staying there 8. So what does it matter whether you owe 42 more years? You're not going to pay 50 years of interest. That was your daddy's time. That ain't going to happen anymore.
Yeah, that's over. All right, so hope Trump's listening, because having houses available is important. 5 million homes. Drop the money on the states. I like it, Grant. Give me the last word.
Yeah, look, I mean, somebody can do something about this. You can't do anything about it if you keep saying you can't do anything about it. Get rid of the Fed. Go to 0% interest rates. They're going to go there anyway. Print more money. Print more money. We should print money, by the way. Get rid of taxes. No state income taxes, no property taxes, and no federal taxes, and rain money on the United States of America. Let the people go crazy, and let's build homes.
Let's build them, and that's the big deal. Get rid of property taxes. That's going on all over this country. Grant Cardone, you can find him on X at Grant Cardone. Easy to find. Grant, always appreciate talking to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, and we'll be right back. This is The Steve Gruber Show.
Welcome back to it here, live from Washington, D.C. It's the Steve Gruber Show, special edition. I'll be here all week. Back to the White House today. The president will be making another announcement today. I don't know about what. Kind of keeps these things under wraps, and then it's a bit of a surprise when we get there. In the meantime, in New Jersey, people who support pregnancy, who support life, being harassed again by the state and the attorney general there. Carrie Severino is the president of the Judicial Crisis Network and co-author with Molly Hemingway of the best-selling book Justice on Trial, the confirmation hearings of Kavanaugh on the future of the court. She joins me now. Carrie, nice to have you here on the program.
Great to be here.
All right, so this lay this case out for us. It's the First Choice Women's Resource Centers versus Platkin. That is Attorney General Matthew Platkin, who's been openly hostile and worked with Planned Parenthood to go after these organizations that support life. I mean, it's pretty obvious here, but lay this case out for us, because hostility in one court could lead them to another court, and that could set a precedent that maybe is not such a great idea. Explain it.
Yeah, at the same time as complaining that pro-lifers don't do enough to help pregnant women who are in crisis, you have these attacks on crisis pregnancy centers by states. What he's doing is trying to harass pregnancy centers in New Jersey by asking them for detailed information, by telling consumers that they're misleading the public, and by trying to suggest that they're misleading their donors. So with that, he's asked for all of their donor records, including the donors' contact information, including their employers. This is something that seems very clearly designed to harass and intimidate. And you've got their donors on record saying, yeah, this is something that makes me more concerned about donating to an organization if I think I'm going to be put in the middle of this big litigation kind of thing. That's something the Supreme Court has said is absolutely forbidden. They've been saying this since the 50s when Alabama tried to do it to the NAACP in order to intimidate their donors. And of course, they dropped in their donations as a result. They said it again recently in the Americans for Prosperity case when California was trying to do this. There's no question that New Jersey cannot do this to the pregnancy centers, but they're trying to end run those cases by bringing this in state court. And so what First Choice is trying to get the Supreme Court to agree to is saying, hey, we knew this was illegal. We filed a case in federal court, and New Jersey's trying to make us resolve it in state court, where we think they're going to be a little more sympathetic to the New Jersey Attorney General and potentially block the ability to defend their constitutional rights in federal court. Yesterday's arguments, though, the Supreme Court seemed very clear that they understood what the game was, and I think they're going to rule for the pregnancy centers.
Yeah, this lawfare against anything right of center it's ongoing. And you make the point here, Carrie. They know that the Supreme Court has ruled specifically and consistently one way. So what do? Let's go to state court. They try to do an end run to game the system. And look, there's no question, 5,000 donors, give or take, to the First Choice Women's Resource Center. Those people are going to close their wallets. They're going to say, you know what? I don't want to be exposed. I don't want people outside of my home. I don't want nasty letters and emails. I mean, clearly a chill on the First Amendment, right?
Absolutely. We've seen people trying to do this in other areas. The whole goal, it's when, they've done it with Tea Party groups when they were trying to disclose their tax information. They did it around the traditional marriage fight in California when people like Brendan Eich were forced out of their jobs. That's the goal here. They have no evidence. Their underlying claims are kind of laughable. They say people who are donating to a pro-life pregnancy center didn't realize it was pro-life. They thought the organization was providing abortions. That's laughable. The whole underlying case would be silly if there weren't a real threat that New Jersey could actually force this kind of disclosure from the state. And of course, once they've done so, going back and saying, "Oh, just kidding, you had constitutional rights here that were violated," that's very cold comfort.
Yeah, and this is the bigger picture to me, Carrie, is this. This is how Democrats gin up their base to say, look, we can't trust the Supreme Court. We need to add 5 members or 7 members or 100 members. They want to pack the Supreme Court for this very reason, because they can't win there. I mean, it's the first conservative court. It was almost 90 years that the Supreme Court leaned left. It finally leans right, and they can't stand it. They can't stand the idea that their ideas are not constitutional, are not legal, and are not going to be upheld. I mean, it drives them crazy, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If you would like your laws, your policies to be enacted, you should go to Congress, not the courts. And for decades, they've been able to just go to the court and get whatever they wanted passed by a liberal Supreme Court. That's not the case anymore. The court's still happy to enforce even Democrat passed laws and liberal laws if it's actually written as the Constitution says by Congress, signed by the president. They're not going to make things up as they go along. It's just a reminder of how important it is to continue to focus on the court, because we've got this great originalist majority on the court right now. We need to maintain a strong Senate that's going to be willing to continue to confirm good judges and justices, and to maintain a president who's willing to appoint people who believe in the Constitution, because that's the only way we can preserve a system where we're still governed by the Constitution.
All right, so the justices heard the case. They've taken the case. We'll know in June, right? It's always a process, but is that the timetable? You would expect a decision in June?
Probably, this is a significant and a controversial case. Those ones more often take till the end of the term to hash out. So could be as early as April, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
All right, could take a little bit longer. Carrie, thank you for bringing us this case. As always, we'll keep an eye on all of it and bring you an update when the court makes a decision. Thank you.
Great talking to you.
Really appreciate it. It was a little warmer today in D.C., a little bit, but not terribly warm. Still cold. Winter's here. When I left Detroit on Sunday, there was 6 to 8 inches of snow. It's winter, man. What does that mean? It means it's muskox season. It's the undisputed leader in heavyweight flannels, and it has you covered. Their brand new heavyweight flannels are on the way. They're already rated the best flannel by Gear Junkie since 2023 and by Gruber Nation. These aren't your average shirts. Muskox flannels are crafted with the softest, durable, double brushed, 100% cotton. Feels as good as it looks. Soft as butter, hard as steel. And trust me, you're going to love this shirt. $5 goes to conservation of wildlife every time you spend a little bit of money. Go to gomuskox.com/Gruber. The promo code Gruber will save you $15. You're going to love this shirt. I guarantee it. We all do. gomuskox.com/Gruber. Save $15 with that promo code. I'll take a break and be right back. It is the Steve Gruber Show.
Somewhere around.
How about a fun story? How about something a little bit more fun? Let your imagination run wild at Christmas time. The name is anonymous, and that's okay. Doesn't affect the story. You see, their mother had told them for years, I've got a bunch of valuable comic books in the attic. And they're like, yeah, whatever. They never thought much about it, didn't care. But when their mom passed away in San Francisco, they said, well, let's start going through stuff. And you know what? They found some comic books, a bunch of comic books, and in really good condition, including Superman #1, printed in 1939. And it went to auction. It sold for $9.1 million. Graded 9 out of 10, highest of any comic book ever to go to auction. 9 out of 10. $9.1 million. Yeah. Kept in excellent condition by cool San Francisco weather, maintained crisp corners, vivid colors, and a sturdy spine. Would you pay $9 million for a comic book? I wouldn't, but I'd sure sell it for that. Yes, I would. I'd sure sell it for $9.1 million. Can you imagine? As part of the journey, the auction block, the comic was brought to Certified Guarantee Company, authenticated, grade 9 out of 10, highest ever done. It was just in an attic, sitting in a box. Could have easily been thrown away. Could have easily been destroyed in 1,000 different ways, said Lon Allen, Vice President of Comics at Heritage Auctions, who handled the sale. $9.1 million. Yeah, you can have my copy of Superman for $9.1 mil. It's gone. What's in your attic? Well, people can be rifling through the attic. What's in this box, Mom? What's in that box? You know, valuable things pop out from time to time. It's just kind of interesting. Anyhow, let's see. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk about the Center for Judicial Renewal. Could Trump's circuit pick shift a generation of rulings? Circuit court picks can make a difference in the federal rulings. What's the point of civil society if it punishes good people to protect criminals? That's a question we ask a lot with so many people coming into our country illegally. I'm live in Washington, D.C. I'll be at the White House again today. I'll have complete coverage for you again throughout the week. Enjoying my time here in the nation's capital. Stick with us. The next hour of the Steve Gruber Show to be found on YouTube and X and all those great places. I'll be back in a moment.
always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Well, it sure is, and welcome back to the next hour here of the program. Would you like the Fuse and more? Great informative broadcast. Excellence in broadcast from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. That's our foxhole of freedom today, is the nation's capital. Back to the White House for me today. A lot to cover. You don't want to miss a thing this week. Three big things this hour. Number one, health savings accounts gaining traction on Capitol Hill as Obamacare is floundering and providing less and less health care for more and more money. Number two, speaking of the economy, President Trump says he has another idea to supercharge the money in your pocket. Eliminate income taxes altogether. And I mean, hallelujah. And number three, the war of words keeps heating up on the war on narco-terrorist boats on the open ocean, getting vaporized by the United States military. Donald Trump discussed it yesterday in the cabinet meeting. He discussed it in the Roosevelt Room. This is a hot topic. What do you think? Send me an email, stevegruber.com. Send me an email to stevegruber.com and tell me what you think about the attack on these drug boats. The story's changing, by the way, on the attack on the cartel drug boat. And dishonest people on places like CNN are being called out for it. Listen.
Well, first of all, the story has been massively misreported. So you have actual headlines saying that Hegseth gave the order for the second hit. That wasn't in the initial Washington Post article, which claimed that following, by hearsay, somebody claimed to have heard Hegseth say, we have to kill everybody. Therefore, the admiral gave the second hit. So I just want to clear that up. I think that's why Hegseth wrote the tweet, is to just correct the record. But what I don't understand is it is the Secretary of State's right to determine who is a terrorist and who isn't. The Secretary of State answers to the executive branch. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has determined that these boats are carrying terrorists, which makes the attacks on them legal. And the only question is whether that boat was disabled or whether it was destroyed. If it was destroyed, how are there still live people clinging to it? And if it was only disabled, let me just finish the point, then it was still a threat, meaning it was still a legitimate target. So I'm very confused. And by the way, I've spoken to a lot of veterans today who are also very confused by all of this bipartisan outrage. When working class Americans in those forgotten Rust Belt communities where you have high schools where 5 kids have overdosed and died, when they see him blowing up those boats, they feel like he sees their pain. They feel like somebody cares.
Yeah, like somebody cared. Look, here's the thing. 100,000 Americans die from the poison that's brought into our country by way of these boats and other drug cartels shipping it over by land, air, and sea. That's what they do, right? And then you have these seditious six. Mark Kelly, senator, veteran, Alyssa Slotkin, a former analyst in the intel community, and 4 other members of the House, calling on the military to question their orders, to question the chain of command. And Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri is calling out the seditious six as our administration is cracking down on these drug cartels and the terrorists. Listen to what he said.
I will point out, though, Harris, one of the crazy things that happened over the weekend, the Democrats, elected Democrats, not some online troll, elected Democrats have been saying it's okay to disobey orders. That's the first step. But what we saw happen this weekend through some of those same elected officials was to say basically to military men and women, look out, you might get prosecuted. This is not the language of we'll beat them in the next election or we'll win the argument. This is the language of a color revolution where you're calling on military men and women to disobey orders, and you put that on top of the firebombing of Tesla dealerships, the riots you see in the streets, the prosecution of a political opponent. The Democrats have completely lost the plot here, and the American people, I think, see that. But it's a very dangerous road to go down here to say you should be disobeying orders because we don't like Trump.
Yeah, Democrats have lost the plot. I think the senator is exactly right. And the point made previously is if the boat is disabled, it doesn't mean it's sunk. It means it's disabled. That means it's still a threat. And that call was made by an admiral. Not by Pete Hegseth, by an admiral in charge out there. And remember back during COVID when the Democrats always said, trust the experts, trust the experts. Well, why don't we trust the experts in our military, in the intelligence community that's working today saying, yes, these are people running drugs, dangerous narcotics that kill Americans? Well, here's the counter argument from the Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, on the record, suggesting not only that we shouldn't be doing this, but that it's a war crime being committed by killing narco-terrorists. Listen.
The Trump administration says it did not break any laws after carrying out an airstrike on a boat 3 months ago today. The strike was notable, though, because it was multiple shots that were fired by the military, killing 2 people who appeared to have survived the first strike. And now Democrats say they need to know if war crimes were committed.
The question in front of us, and I believe there will be bipartisan investigations in both the House and in the Senate, in order to determine whether war crimes were committed and either U.S. law or international law or both were violated.
That's an open threat. So they've gone from saying don't follow illegal orders to maybe you committed a war crime by carrying out the orders to destroy these narco-terrorist boats. Yeah. Carlos Jimenez, he's a Republican congressman, totally nuked Wolf Blitzer on CNN about the boat strike. So here is the final argument. Listen.
I'm confident that the admiral thought he was carrying out his mission,
but why is
which
it
is
questionable? Why is it questionable to order a strike to kill individuals who are survivors?
These are terrorists. Okay, these are absolute terrorists.
But they're wounded.
I didn't see this kind of scrutiny when the Obama administration was launching drone strikes against terrorist organizations in the Middle East. I mean, that happened all the time. Okay, and so. I didn't see this kind of scrutiny about the survivors, et cetera. These are terrorists. They're bringing poison into the United States. They have killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. And we need to understand that. Killed far more Americans than Al-Qaeda or
so let me just be precise with you,
ever did.
Congressman.
And so I have no problem with the kinetic strikes that are happening in the Caribbean, killing and destroying the drugs that are killing American citizens and have been killing American citizens for years.
And I don't remember, maybe you can help me with this, I don't remember those same Democrats voicing concerns when Barack Obama dropped over 90,000 bombs on 15 countries or used drones to target people overseas, including 3 Americans that were killed, including one that was 16 years of age. Americans killed by American drone strikes. Do you remember too much outrage about that from the Democrats? I don't. If you want to bring drugs illegally into America, you put yourself in harm's way. If the professionals in our military and the intelligence community say this boat is running drugs, you are in harm's way. Trust the experts. Trust the American military. Trust the men and women in uniform. They know what they're doing. I'll take a break and be right back. From the nation's capital, this is The Steve Gruber Show. all fairly sick of activist judges handing down rulings that we know are contrary to the Constitution, contrary to the rule of law, contrary to precedent, because they're ruling not on the law, not on the Constitution, but on their own political activism. And so who gets chosen for federal courts and the Supreme Court, it makes a huge difference, obviously. The United States Supreme Court has 3 jurists now that were selected and brought forth by Donald Trump. It has changed the court considerably. My next guest is Philip Juregi, a senior counsel at AFA, the government affairs affiliate of the American Family Association. Philip, thank you for being here.
Yeah, Steve, thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me. Good morning.
Good morning to you. All right, so we're talking about a pick for the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals.
That's right.
There's a chance here for the president to put somebody here. Now, the problem is Democrats tend to slow these things down, try to block these nominations at every level of the Trump administration. At this point in the Biden administration, pretty much all of his picks were in place for running the administration. The same is not true today for Donald Trump. But tell me about this particular seat, how important it is, and the nominee, Erin Morrow Hawley.
Sure. Well, it's incredibly important because you have 3 levels of federal judges. I think everybody knows about Supreme Court. We haven't had a vacancy at the Supreme Court in this second presidency or second term, pardon me, of President Trump. But then you have an intermediate level, courts of appeal, and then trial courts, which are the district courts. We're talking here about the 8th Circuit, which is one of those intermediate courts of appeal. It's for Missouri. Even though the 8th Circuit covers several states, this seat is designated for Missouri. So it's a tremendous opportunity for the administration to put a constitutionalist on the bench.
Erin Morrow Hawley, by the way, her husband was just on the program here. It's Senator Hawley, Josh Hawley of Missouri. So pretty powerful couple when it comes to politics and the courts. Obviously, he's an attorney as well. Why do you think she's the right pick at this time for this court?
We've researched her for about 2 or 3 years now, believe it or not. We were looking at prospects for the U.S. Supreme Court. We knew about the Hawleys. We knew about Erin's background, the fact that she clerked for Chief Justice John Roberts. Now, don't hold that against her too much. That was early on before he made the big error in the Obamacare case. But of course, that's a great honor to clerk at the Supreme Court, much less for the chief. And so she has great pedigree. She's also a law professor. She worked for Alliance Defending Freedom. But then as we dug into her record, looking at her worldview in particular, which matters, it does matter, their worldview. We see that at the Supreme Court every day. But then also her judicial philosophy. She's not going to legislate her morals, but she has enough morals to know she has an oath to keep, and she'll follow the law and the Constitution. And so we were thoroughly impressed with her. We did not put her on our short list for the Supreme Court only because she hadn't been a judge. But it was very close, honestly. She could be there now. She's an excellent prospect. And so to see her on the 8th Circuit is natural. And I hope President Trump will nominate her.
You know, you look at judicial activists on the Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson is clearly out of her depth. And I'm going to use this example. I mean, she has been ridiculed by her fellow jurists, openly ripped in decisions because she's basing her decisions not on the law, not on the Constitution, but on, well, her political agenda. And that's the sort of thing we're trying to avoid, isn't it?
It is, exactly. And you're right. I mean, Justice Jackson continues to isolate herself. She's even losing. When you can't get Justice Sotomayor to join you, there's something wrong there. And so we see that with Justice Jackson. Erin Hawley, on the other hand, has a biblical worldview. She has a conservative Judeo-Christian worldview, but she knows that her job as a judge is not to legislate morality, but simply to follow the laws that are passed by the legislative branches. That's, I think, where Justice Jackson has struggled, and that's where I think Erin Hawley would do an excellent job.
Let me ask you, you mentioned something here, and we'll see how that progresses, but here's my question to you.
Sure.
You've done research for Supreme Court nominees. You have a list that's readily available, I assume.
That's right.
Do you expect or anticipate the possibility that somebody like Clarence Thomas, I mean, I think he's 80.
Yeah.
Samuel Alito, I think, is 78. maybe it's time to make a clear move to bring in some younger conservative jurists to the court. What are your thoughts?
Well, I honestly struggle with that because Justice Thomas and Justice Alito are incredible. They are blessings to this nation and to the Supreme Court. If one of them were to retire, and that's entirely their decision, because I'd love to see them there for a long time, but we all know at some point everyone's going to go from the court. And so the concern is, can we replace them with people who are as good as them? And if we have somebody like Aaron Hawley or a few others, then the answer is yes, we can. The problem is there's a long list of people out there that have been pushed by other organizations, and some are good, Steve, but good isn't good enough when you have great prospects. Thomas and Alito are great justices. When we replace them, we need to be confident, not hope. We need to be confident based on our research and on data, not pure recommendations, on research, data, that we can replace them with people who are as good as they are. Aaron Hawley, for example, is somebody that would qualify under that standard. Putting her on the Eighth Circuit would be smart because the Eighth Circuit needs her, but it would also help strengthen the bench for the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. My pick, by the way, is Amul Thapar of Kentucky. I've done my research on him. If there's a vacancy on the Supreme Court, I like that man, just for the record. All right.
Well, and there are some you have good reasons to be encouraged. I will tell you, we've looked at him, and there are some concerns about Amul Thapar.
Well, with all of them. I mean, there are concerns on all folks. But, you know, you're right, we need to find great jurists to carry it forward. There's no question. I have to leave it there for today, but I greatly appreciate you being here, Philip.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Steve.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. These courts are generational, and he's right about Thomas and Alito. They are great jurists. But one's 80 and one's 78, I believe. I mean, we've got to make a decision here. I'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. How about another big, beautiful bill? That's what's in the works in D.C., here where I sit today. A lot of work behind the scenes. Chairman of the Republican Study Committee, Congressman Austin Pfluger, on Tuesday previewed a second GOP mega bill focused on health care. And this is huge because the mounting concerns that Congress will not reach an agreement on the failed Obamacare. Look, the Affordable Care Act failed. It's that simple. It did not work. It did not succeed. It failed by design, I believe, in an effort to usher in single payer, government-run health care, which, trust me, nobody who's ever looked into government-run health care wants anything to do with it. But subsidies, tax credits set to expire at the end of the year, as you know, and lawmakers are pointing fingers at each other. But some Republicans are looking at the idea of another one big, beautiful bill that would require a number of reforms on health care. The Republican Study Committee championing a second reconciliation package to address the affordability of health care with multiple pieces of legislation. This comes to me from my good friend John Solomon, by the way, getting the information on this. What we want to see is competition, said Pfluger. First and foremost, we want to see transparency. There are plenty of middlemen in this system who are taking away from the savings that the patients, that Americans should be getting. Look, 20% of Obamacare money goes straight to the insurance companies. 20%. Might be higher than that. That could be a conservative estimate. If the money were sent directly to you for a health savings account, you could choose your health care package. You could pay your doctor directly. You could buy your pharmaceuticals, your prescription meds directly. And what would happen is you would have competition between the insurance companies to provide you a better deal at a lower price, better health care coverage at a lower price, competition. You don't have that now. You have insurance companies who have profited wildly from Obamacare. Their profits have gone up 10 times since 2012. 10 times. They're profiting because we're paying the bill and left holding the bag. So we'll keep an eye on this. Another big, beautiful bill could be on the way. It could include health care and premiums and changes and hopefully health savings accounts, which I think is a beautiful idea. I'll take a break. I'm in Washington, D.C. this week. This is the Steve Gruber Show. I've always been confused when I see a headline that says a homeowner has defended themselves. Somebody broke in, they shot him, and the homeowner gets charged with a crime. This is true in some states. Not in Florida, we have a stand your ground law in some other places, but strangely enough, defending yourself, protecting yourself, your family, your home, whatever it may be, in some places turns you into a villain. Doug Blair is a conservative commentator, is the author of the Blair Broadcast Substack, and he's here to discuss it. Doug, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It seems odd to me that in a civil society, if somebody busts down my door, breaks in my window, gets in my house, whatever it may be, and I defend myself, that in some places that makes me a criminal. That's outrageous.
Yeah, and I think one of the problems too is it creates this idea that the only people who get punished in American society today are law-abiding citizens. So the story you're referencing is something I wrote about out of Michigan. A guy named Dayton Napton was defending his property. This is a garage that he had built a couple years ago and had it broken into several times within the past year, mostly by the same group of teenagers. He comes out, fires into the garage on his property. Somebody is shot and killed, and now the DA is trying to throw the book at him and saying that this was inappropriate. I think that when people see this story on the face of it, they're horrified. They say, what was wrong with defending your property? What's wrong with defending your home? These people could have gone in. They could have, attacked him. They could have attacked his girlfriend. God forbid if there were children in the home, they could have gone after them. But the assumption, I think, amongst a lot of leftist DAs and a lot of leftist activists is that you must make yourself a victim. Otherwise, you are doing something wrong. It is, in fact, the criminals that deserve the right of law, that deserve protection, and not the law-abiding American citizen who just wants to protect their property and their family.
Yeah. You say this case is from Michigan, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I want to bring this to people's attention because I want you to hear a term that people have heard before. A man's home is his castle, right? You've heard that term? That is a case out of Michigan. It happened a long time ago now, the story of Augustus Pond, defending his property. And the court ruled a man's home is his castle. I think that came June 1859. This is the law of the land in Michigan. So what happened to a man's home is his castle? What happened to that?
I don't know. I mean, again, I think it is just a matter of the left is hell-bent on destroying any semblance of the individual's capacity to protect themselves, because obviously this extends far past castle doctrine. This extends towards gun rights as a whole. What is the point of owning a firearm if you are not allowed to use it in defense of yourself and your property? There is none. Of course, if you're going to get punished for shooting somebody and protecting yourself and your property, you might as well not have the gun at all. And I think that's where this gets really insidious, is you see a lot of these leftist activists say things like, oh, well, we have Heller on the books. The Supreme Court has ruled on this. But you still see places like California trying to enact really tight gun bans that just skirt the law. You obviously what's happening here in Michigan where, a man is being punished for rightfully acting to defend himself and his property using a firearm. It is a coordinated campaign by the radical left to ensure that Americans both must rely on the state to protect themselves, which, as we all know, is not a good way to protect yourself, and secondarily, that they are violated and punished for using the rights that were given to them by the founders. It is incredibly dangerous if this type of legal warfare is allowed to continue.
Yeah. It seems to me that the folks of 1859 had good sense. If they're attacking you, your property, your family, they're putting you in harm's way. In this particular case, they're attacking the man's home, trying to tear off his roof. They were attacking his employees, choking them. And he said, look, leave him alone or I'll shoot. He shot. And he was taken to court, but he prevailed. This has been the precedent of the court since 1859. To me, this is a no-brainer. I mean, we should be able to protect ourselves. That's why the stand your ground laws are so important. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. No. Completely agree. And I think that, again, there are larger consequences than just one man getting his life ruined. I wrote about Daniel Penny many months ago who stepped in, protected his community, and what has been the effect on people acting to protect themselves and their community. It's been very chilling when you see that the response from authorities is to punish you and not the criminal. What's more inspiring to, have your community be protected by its individuals? If you are rewarded, if you are given medals, if you are given commendations and told you're doing the right thing, or if you're sent to jail, dragged through the mud, and basically forced into a public circus. It's very intentional. I think that this is the thing that I want viewers here to understand. This is not something that they're just conjuring up out of nowhere. This is a coordinated campaign by leftist activists to ensure that people are thralls to the state and that they cannot protect themselves or their property. If you step out of line, if you do something that the state doesn't like, you will be punished, even if there is legal jurisprudence from centuries ago that illustrates you can do this. They don't care. They want to get rid of it. They think that you should be a slave to the state.
You know, the Daniel Penny case that you just mentioned is so telling, and how perverted the point of view has become. Here's a guy that protected the people on the train and protected them from somebody who was clearly threatening them. Unfortunately, the man died. But he was doing it to protect the people on the train and do the right thing, and he becomes the focus of prosecution. That's wrong. And there's no two ways about it. It's a perverted system of justice. These are the same people. I'm sitting here in Washington, D.C., that would have you believe that it's bad to have the National Guard here to drop crime rates. By the way, there have been 24 murders since the 11th of August. That would equate to 80 murders a year. We haven't had a murder rate that low in the nation's capital in 40 years. Carjackings are down 75%. Sexual assaults down 35%. It's almost as if one side of the political spectrum embraces criminals over the rest of us. That's the way it feels and looks and sounds.
Yeah, and Steve, I'm also based out of Northern Virginia, so I go into D.C. all the time. Navy Yard has never felt safer. Metro Center has never felt safer. All of these neighborhoods with very little investment, it seems, you just basically put police and National Guard forces and enforce the law, and the crime goes down. I think that that's another one of these things that's infinitely frustrating about the left, is they say their solutions are so far out of reach. They say that it requires tens of millions of dollars in reinvestment, and we can't have police, we have to have social services. And no, all you have to do is put a guy with a gun who says, if you break the law, there will be consequences. If you put a police officer near a station in Washington, D.C., people don't commit crime near the metro station. It's so obvious, but for whatever reason, the left has decided that the American people are chumps and that we need to continuously be told that the only solution is far more government intervention, far more leftist woke nonsense that, allows criminals 50th, 60th, 70th chances to come out and harass the public again, because maybe the 71st time they won't do it again. It's very clear what works and what doesn't work, and I'm very happy that at least one side of the aisle understands this.
I think everybody with a functioning brain is tired of seeing headlines that say 15-time felon commits crime, 25 times, 50 times, 80 times let out of jail. We're done with that. Doug, greatly appreciate you being here. It's time for Law and Order. The good guy is not the criminal. That's the takeaway today. Doug, thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. It's ridiculous. They want to turn the good guys into the criminals. We'll not stand for it here. We will not. I'll take a break and be back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. As you know, I come to Washington, D.C. regularly, and we were just talking about crime here again. Again, 24 murders. That's the last update I had. Over 110 days, beginning the 11th of August. If you extrapolate that out, that is a murder rate of about 80 annually. That would be the lowest in 40 years. Carjacking is down 75%. Sexual assault down 35%. The positive outcome from the National Guard, just strolling the streets, has been remarkable, but then 2 get gunned down. 1's dead, 1 in terrible shape, critical condition. Joining me now is Jody Weiss, the former superintendent of the Chicago Police Department. Jody, thank you for being here.
Yeah, good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me.
I mean, the results, I come to D.C. regularly. I'm here today. And you, as my previous guest just mentioned, the Navy Yard, never been safer. Walking around D.C., never been safer. Not in my lifetime. And yet everybody wants to demonize, everybody on the left, I should be clear, wants to demonize the National Guard being here as if it's some sort of threat. You know what I see? I see people talking to the National Guard. They're talking, they're chatting, they're laughing. Everybody's getting along, and crime is going down. Am I missing something?
No, Steve, you're spot on. You've just got a group of politicians and media that are so against anything Trump does. If you just look at the facts, as you just articulated, there's great results in D.C. I've spent a lot of time in D.C. I would love to have had the National Guard standing around there. If you go to New York right after 9/11, the National Guard was everywhere. So I think you just have to come to the realization that some people, no matter what Trump does, it doesn't matter. They're just going to hate him for it. But the results have been incredible. And look what the National Guard can do. They can act as a deterrent. If there's a high crime area, you put a squad there. You give them the right rules of engagement. You give them the right mission, and that'll keep the bad guys out of that area, and you can displace that crime. And when they work with the police department and work with federal agencies, you have a very potent force. And I think the biggest attribute to all of that was the mayor. Certainly not a fan of Donald Trump, but when she comes out and says D.C. is safer today because of the National Guard, that says something to me.
Absolutely true. But the National Guard gets demonized, and then a guy drives all the way across the country from the state of Washington and shoots them down. There's a problem there. You go to Chicago. You look at the mayor there, Brandon Johnson, and the governor, J.B. Pritzker. We don't want the National Guard here. Of course, why would you want that? There have only been 2,000 people shot in Chicago so far this year, a few hundred murders. Why would you want to lower your crime rate? Why not just demonize Donald Trump? Tell the world how wonderful Chicago is as mobs of people in their teen years are taking over the Miracle Mile. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. It's obscene. Look, the people that can't leave these neighborhoods, the people that are retired on fixed incomes, that are stuck in places that aren't great in Chicago or D.C., they're the ones paying the highest price, aren't they?
100%. And let's ask ourselves, Steve, why don't these politicians want to have the National Guard here? I've been scratching my head on that ever since this came about. And the only idea I can even have, true or not, is that they would be embarrassed. They would then be told, people of Chicago would be shown that if the politicians are willing to attack this problem, it can be solved. Can you imagine how Pritzker and Johnson would look if Trump sent in the National Guard and got the same type of statistical results, achievements that he got in D.C.? People in Chicago would be going like, why didn't this happen like 20 years ago? And if I was still superintendent, I would love to have the National Guard in there. Working with them, you could do so much work to shut down some of the high crime areas, the open air drug markets. You can immediately have the capability to move resources around to address a crime that might be ready to break off, depending on who just came out of prison. It gives the law enforcement folks so much opportunity. But you know, Steve, the problem I think in Chicago are the judges. There's a new state's attorney there who's trying to do the right thing. But look at that psychopath they left loose after 72 arrests who tried to burn someone to death on a CTA train. How can that possibly happen? And the judge's comment, well, I can't lock up everybody the state's attorney wants me to. What an indictment that is. That judge has blood all over her hands.
It was a horrible comment. But you look at people in Chicagoland, Humboldt Park, Garfield Park, Little Village, Englewood, Auburn, Gresham, Chatham, those places that are overrun with shootings and homicides. Like I said, almost 2,000 people shot in Chicago so far, more than 400 shot and killed in Chicago so far this year. and they're apparently perfectly okay with it. You know what they want? They want more gun control laws, which have no impact at all on these gangs and these drug shootings and these, mass shootings. Funny that the left always wants to talk about mass shootings. There have been a couple dozen so-called mass shootings in the city of Chicago this year alone. Have you heard about any one of them? No, of course not. It's a double standard, isn't it?
Absolutely. It all depends who's being shot and who's shooting them. If it fits the narrative that the police are bad, then of course we're going to hear that all day long. But, you go back to the George Floyd days, something horrible, far worse than what happened to George Floyd, literally happens every weekend in Chicago. Half a dozen black men are usually killed every weekend in Chicago, as sad as that sounds. And what do you hear out of there? Crickets. How many activists go to Chicago in support of that to try to make a difference? Zero. But you have one police officer who, ends up taking the life of a criminal, a career criminal, and all hell breaks loose and the entire country is up in flames.
Yeah, I had to update my statistic here. I went to heyjackass.com, my favorite place to keep track of Chicago shootings. Yeah, 30 plus mass shootings, and I'm counting 3 or more. If you had just 2 shot, that would make it over 100. Yeah, heyjackass.com. If you ever want to know what's going on in Chicagoland when it comes to shootings and violent crime, that is a great website. There's no question about it. I'll give you the last word.
No, I just feel really sorry for the police officers who are trying to do a good job every day. I feel very sorry for the residents of Chicago because they're faced with a broken political system. You've got a mayor who cares nothing about the people. Every word out of his mouth is racism, racism, racism. Well, all the poor people in Chicago who can't leave, who are locked into that city, have to suffer through this guy's incompetent methodology. And the police officers are out there banging their heads, trying to do a good job. I'm very happy finally that we now have a state's attorney that's trying to lock people up. But until these judges are held accountable, and they've got to be held accountable, nothing's really going to change. So let's pray for 2026 being a better year in Chicago.
I agree with you. Jody Weiss, thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.
There you have it. The National Guard is it's a tested tool that has worked in D.C. Chicago, wake up. We'll have sports with Brock after the break. All right, let's check in on sports now with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. The next to last college football playoff rankings were released last night. Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, Texas Tech, and Oregon make up the top 5 in that order. The final rankings will be released on Sunday afternoon. In the NBA, there were 6 games last night. Winners included Philadelphia, Boston, San Antonio, and Oklahoma City. The Thunder's 124-112 victory over Golden State was their 13th straight win. They're a league best now, 21-1. In the NHL, there were 10 games. Winners included the New York Rangers, Detroit, Colorado, and Vegas. In men's college basketball, top 10 winners included number 1 Purdue, number 4 Duke, number 5 Connecticut, and number 7 Michigan State. In women's college basketball, number 1 Connecticut and number 16 USC both won easily. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. College basketball. All right, so we know how football is going to shape out. Big game, obviously, Ohio State and Indiana. I guess we're going to find out if anybody can stop Ohio State, because I don't know if anybody can, Brock. But Indiana, I suppose, if anybody can do it, it'll be Indiana.
Yeah, the 2 things they're playing for Saturday in Indianapolis are 1, the Big Ten title, and number 2, the number 1 seed in the college football playoff. That's all Saturday night's game is going to decide. It should be exciting. They've been terrific, and they're the only 2 undefeated teams left in college football. So there's going to be 1 undefeated team at the end of the regular season, just like it was last year when Oregon finished the year as Big Ten champs, and they were undefeated.
Yeah, and then promptly went nowhere. So 1 undefeated team, you get the seedings, it's all set up. I don't think it makes any difference. I think Ohio State wins this thing. I do. I don't see it. And where's the SEC? Aren't they the greatest football conference of all time? Just ask anybody from the SEC. They'll tell you, but this would mean the Big Ten would win the national title 3 years in a row.
If Ohio State or Indiana win, or Oregon for that matter, wins it, yeah.
Right.
It's the SEC has a lot more depth. They have more really good teams than the Big Ten does. But the top of the Big Ten can play with anybody.
Top of the world. That's right. And we'll find out. Now we're going to get some bowl selections, too. We'll talk about that next time, Brock, to see who's playing where. Like Michigan, who are they going to play in the bowl game? We'll talk about that. First, we're going to take a break. Live from Washington, D.C., this is the Steve Gruber Show. Back for another hour after this.
Always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. Man. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
It's a special edition of the program live from Washington, D.C., here in the Real America's Voice Washington studios. I'll be on my way to the White House after this. Had a good day there yesterday. Had a chance to ask the president a couple of questions about the economy, where we're going. Great stuff. Here are three big things for this hour, though. Number one, the Republicans hold on to a critical seat in Tennessee in a special election. That's Tennessee 7. It was supposed to be close. It wasn't. Number two, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that the Maduro regime in Venezuela is not legitimate. The reason he said that is because it's not. And number three, talking to the president yesterday, he was announcing a new plan with money, $6.25 billion put in play by Michael Dell Computers, obviously. $6.25 billion, philanthropic money, 25 million American kids 10 and under, to get $250 into a 401k type account for kids. This goes hand in hand, by the way, with the $1,000 available to kids beginning next year from the big, beautiful bill that are 2 and under. And these accounts cannot be touched until someone is 18 years of age. And during the life of the account, we'll talk about the $250 account announced yesterday, the Trump accounts, they're called Trump accounts. You can have $5,000 a year added. It could be added by an aunt, an uncle, grandparents, whoever. You can put up to $5,000 a year into these accounts for kids that are under 10. Now, Senator Ted Cruz was there yesterday with us. He said by the time somebody's 18, if you put in the $5,000, that account will be worth $175,000, assuming 6% interest or 6% growth over time. If somebody holds on to that account until they're 35 years of age without touching it, it'll be worth over $700,000. This is game-changing stuff, folks. Game-changing stuff. For people who say, you know, I can't afford a house. If you were 35 years of age today and you had $700,000 and you had a job, buy a pretty good house somewhere, couldn't you? Real nice house. Best housing market in America is Pittsburgh, where the median price is $249,000 for a family home. Point is, you could do real well, or you could let it grow. I don't know where it would be when you were 50 years of age or 60 when you might retire. I don't know. But that's pretty cool. So that's going to be in place for a while, and that was announced yesterday. And by the way, the $6.25 billion put up by Dell, that was just the beginning. They believe that others are going to put money into this program as well. 401ks for kids, basically. It's a really great idea. Then the president said something else that really caught my attention. He's been talking about it a little bit. Should catch your attention as well. How do you stimulate the economy? I mean, the economy is doing pretty well. Gas in half the country is under $3 a gallon. In a good part of the country, it's under $2.50 a gallon. In some places, it's under $2 a gallon today. Under $2 a gallon today in places like Oklahoma. Remarkable, right? You see, the inflation rate is under 3%. Black Friday, all-time records. $26 billion spent on Black Friday. That's an increase of 4.1% over last year. The prediction is for $1 trillion, a trillion with a T, $1 trillion to be spent on Christmas shopping this year. The economy is bad. Yes, it is for some people, but apparently not too bad for a whole lot of folks that are setting all-time spending records, okay? And then the president, he went one step further and said this.
And I believe that at some point in the not-too-distant future, you won't even have income tax to pay because the money we're taking in is so great, it's so enormous, that you're not going to have income tax to pay. Whether you get rid of it or just keep it around for fun or have it really low, much lower than it is now, but you won't be paying income tax. We've slashed $1 trillion.
Yeah, reduce the income tax for federal payers. What about eliminating the death tax, the one that annoys me the most? When my father died 20 years ago, the government got more money than his children. The government got more money than his children. How is that appropriate? You tax the dollar when you earn it, tax the dollar when you spend it, tax the dollar when you invest it, if you get any money back. And then when you're dead, they want another chunk of the apple. There's no apple left at that point. By the way, the other big idea, which I think is a great idea, are these health savings accounts. Obamacare is a failure. It's a failure. Everybody knows it. You pay more and more and more for less and less and less in health care. There's no return on investment. If you had the money yourself to spend and Obamacare was eliminated, it would be a boom for America. Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, also a doctor, has this to say about it.
I learned as a doctor that if you give the power to the patient, good things happen. Now, right now, these enhanced premium tax credits go to the insurance companies. They take 20% of it for profit and overhead. They're allowed to do so under Obamacare. Instead of giving the money to the insurance companies for profit, if we give it to the patient for patient care, then a lot of good things happen. She gets the care she knows she needs for her and her family, as opposed to the health care that the insurance company gives her permission to get. She's going to shop for the better deal. We lower her deductible. She's able to buy a cheaper insurance plan with lower premiums. So lower premiums, cheaper deductible, that's a sweet spot. And that's something that Republicans, I think, can get behind.
Absolutely, I can get behind that. How many times, okay, so 20% of the taxpayer dollars are going straight to the bottom line of the insurance companies. Their profits are up 10 times since 2012, all right? Billions and billions of dollars. How many times have you had a doctor tell you, oh, hey, get this prescription or whatever, and you're standing there at the pharmacy and they say, well, we're waiting on approval from the insurance company. From the insurance company? Why do I need approval from the insurance company? My doctor said, here's what I'm dealing with. Here's the medication that I need. Here's the prescription. You hand it to the pharmacist and they say, well, we have to wait for the insurance company to approve it. A number of times that's happened to me. Unfortunately, they were inexpensive. And I said, well, what's the cost? $20. I'll pay you the $20. I don't care about the insurance. Whatever. The fact of the matter is the insurance company shouldn't be able to pad their bottom line with 20% of the money coming in from taxpayers and then tell you you can't have the medication that your doctor has prescribed. That is no way to run a railroad. Not at all. And that's why it has to change, without question. That's why it has to change in America. And so health savings accounts are the path forward, I believe, and it's just one of those solutions. But can you imagine no income tax? Wouldn't that be something? I mean, wouldn't that be something? Speaking of health, if you've tried everything for cheek redness or breaking out and nothing works, it's not your fault. The real cause might be deeper than you think, including clear skin ivermectin. It's from the Wellness Company, a prescription-strength dermatologist-developed formula that helps reduce inflammation, balance bacteria, and restore your skin's natural glow. This triple-action cream combines 3 medical-grade ingredients for powerful results. Azelaic acid to unclog pores and fade dark spots. Metrodiazole to control bacterial imbalance and redness, and ivermectin to calm it all down. Together, these ingredients work to reduce bumps, swelling, and reduce while supporting smoother, healthier, and more radiant skin. It's made in America, and you can find out more at twc.health/Gruber. twc.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You'll save $20 and get free shipping. That's one way to get around the insurance company, isn't it? twc.health/Gruber. Promo code Gruber. Save $20 right now with the Wellness Company. I'll be right back. Well, time for that deep cleansing breath, kind of relax a little bit with our good friend, world traveler. Well, he travels the world and never leaves Michigan. He travels around Michigan, gets lost, tells stories, finds the best burgers, the best free beer. Ron Rademacher, everybody, is here with us as he is every Wednesday, or most of them anyway. Ron, welcome back.
Steve, good to be here. You're over in the Capitol, aren't you?
I am in the nation's capital. Spoke to the president on your behalf just yesterday. Yeah, was there with the president. Got a question in. Always like that.
Did you take any of? Did you take any of Bob Barkham's cider to the president?
I didn't, but I should have. You have this area called behind the Brady press room, which everybody's seen on TV. It's where Caroline Leavitt stands at the podium. If you go to the left, there's a door that goes back to what they call lower press, which is where all the handlers are. And they like chocolate, and they like McDonald's breakfast, and I bet they'd really like Bob Barkham's cider. So I should bring that next time and say, hey, ladies, look what I got for you, a special gift. And I think they'd like that.
Well, I think
because you take care of the handlers, of course, because they take care of you and get you into places like the Oval Office.
No question about that. And if you're going to do that, if they're females, the donuts, make sure you take some of those donuts. Donuts and cider for Bob Barkham's. You're going to go right to the front of the line, Steve.
Yeah, it's just the best. Anyhow, what do you got on your list of things? I mean, it's Christmas season. $1 trillion people are going to spend this year. $1 trillion, Ron. No joke.
$1 trillion, yeah. And I can tell you that the economy may be suffering in some areas, but people were having record Black Friday, record Cyber Monday. We have the World Tour. We're going down to Wing Stadium in Kalamazoo on Friday for the Saturday and Sunday show with Bob the Turtle. And,
really? Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. Yeah, that was the site of my first rock concert. Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. REO Speedwagon with special guest Thin Lizzy. That's right. There's a little blast from my past.
Those are some names out of the past, man. Thin Lizzy. Woo.
Yeah. That was my first concert.
Took a little cider with that one, didn't you?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So we're going to be down there, and we'll mention your name in case they might. I think they still have the Wall of Shame down there. See if your picture's still up there. So
you better check. Yeah. All right.
If you wanna plan some trips, we just put up a podcast on the website, the Mule Trail, and I'm not going to recommend that you do this in the winter, but for people are always saying to me, well, Ron, you have all these great, easy trails for the old guys. Do you have anything that's challenging? Please go read about and see the pictures of the Mule Trail, the most challenging trail I've tackled in 25 years of producing Michigan Backwoods Getaways. Yeah. And Kathy went with me, and she said, now that was fun. So 65-degree incline, Steve.
Wow, that's like going like up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's 500 feet up to the top of the Norwich Bluff. It's nothing compared to how difficult it is coming back down, because you have to read the article. It's a great place. So Christmas, let's talk about Christmas. So they do the holidays different in Mansalona, as you know. That's not far from your northern compound. And they've lit all the trees. They've got everything's lit. Everything's already lit up. So they're going to light it up with the northern
including the people.
Yeah, including exactly. So this is the first time this season they're bringing in the top-level snowcross guys, and there'll be a few damaged sciaticas after that one too. I can guarantee you, because they get
sure of that. Yeah.
For life in the slow lane, Manistee is having their sleigh Christmas tree sleigh ride parade, and this is the one where they have these gigantic 70-foot Christmas trees all decorated, and they take them down Main Street down to the waterfront. They're drawn by Percherons and those, what are the Clydesdales. Fantastic parade, one of the best in Michigan. We don't talk about Manistee very much, but if you get a chance to be up there for that parade, you're going to go to one. That one and the one that Bob Bargan told us about in Williamston, two great ones. So those are your parades. And then Saugatuck, the annual Ugly Sweater Pub Crawl. I thought you were going to be participating in that, Steve, but you're not. Too bad, because there will be beer there. There will be beer.
Well, I want to make one Christmas note here because I thought I was right, and gosh darn it, Ron, I was. The White House Christmas tree, known as the Blue Room Christmas tree, is the official indoor Christmas tree at the White House. This year's tree is an 18-foot concolor fir from Michigan. So there's a little shout out.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I thought I don't have it here. I thought I had the names of the farm that came from. Yeah, congratulations. And so then, of course, one of the other great ones, I like to remind everybody every year, if you've not been to Meadowbrook Hall in Rochester for Christmas, it is something to see. That's that mansion you and I talked about. Lumber Baron built it, 37 chimneys, 110 rooms. Fantastic. The rest of these
Beautiful
you can kind of
I've only seen it in pictures.
I've got a long list of holiday events so wherever you're going, Dexter, Escanaba, Fenton, Grand Rapids, Robinette's has they're open year round too. That's an Apple House. One of these days, you and I have to meet up there and we'll taste test their cider and see how it stacks up to Bob Barkham's cider. It's very close. They have great cider there.
Well, I see that Bob has become a very good friend of the program and yours. Great guy. Runs that wonderful roadside stand with pumpkins and squash and everything you can imagine for the fall. But he also gave you a shout out this week, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. They're having the Williamston Light Parade. That's December 6th, Saturday. And Bob will be there. He's going to be driving a tractor with one of the floats. So if I can get down there, he even told me he'd wave at me. So that would be big.
That would be big. Heck, I'd even come see you for that. I'd throw stuff at you.
Well, yeah, absolutely. There's got to be some leftover pumpkins you could chuck.
Well, I put them out for the birds. Hold on one second. As often happens, Ron and I chatted away our time, and we're going to take a quick break and come back with a couple more thoughts about Christmas and everything that's going on. And maybe next time you could wear your ugly sweater, Ron. I'd like that. Hold on. Ron Rademacher from MichiganBackroads.com, which is the place you go if you want your festivities shouted out here. MichiganBackroads.com, the place to get in touch with Ron. We'll be back after this. Man.
I just like to hear myself. People don't understand how it is you and I can script this so well. I keep telling them.
It's remarkable that with Ron Rademacher back with us now as we continue the conversation throughout the entire commercial break and right back into the program. Ron, on your website, MichiganBackroads.com, there's a link where you can go listen to the program live. You can go to SteveGruber.com, listen to the program live. And if you want to see it in full living color, YouTube is the best place. Every day, 3 hours, 6 to 9, and you can watch the reruns all day long. It's better than anything else you're going to get. Me and Ron on reruns, just put it on a loop, and it's beautiful. Anyhow, Ron, there you go.
Oh, listen, absolutely. Yeah, and we also post the loop. Alex will be sending me the link here shortly, and that gets put up every day, every time. It'll happen today. The weekly update, Steve and Ron. It's right on the front page of the website. So yeah, you can because people will email me, Steve, and ask, wait, you were talking about such and such. Where was that? So now I'll answer them. I always do. But now we'll also have the replay there. Go there and get it. And you can play your favorite parts over and over and over on a loop, like you suggested.
I mean, is technology, do I live in a great country or what? You can see Ron Rademacher and Steve Gruber 24 hours a day if you're so inclined. I mean, what a country.
Who could ask for anything more? I mean, God bless us all.
Anyhow, so you're going to have a lot of shout outs next week. Let's see here. The one that I saw on here that I was going to go back to, Santa and S'mores at Camp Nuevo. I thought that was a pretty cool little get together.
Yeah, that's a cool get together. We have, we're going to be listing these every week. These are the ones that are happening December 6th. They're on my website. They're also on the newsletter site. Next weekend, I'll have a whole bunch more. So, because we want to let everybody know that we know about the towns. We're glad that you're having the celebrations. I'll come if I can. But people nearby want to know, oh, when's the parade? Like Silver Bells. That's a huge tradition in Lansing. So we're going to let everybody know every week what's going on this weekend. There you have it.
There you go. There you have it. Again, it's MichiganBackroads.com with Ron Rademacher. If you want to make sure you get a shout out, get a hold of Ron, and he will get you right here on the Big Beautiful program. Ron Rademacher, Merry Christmas to you, my friend. We'll say that a lot coming up, but we'll talk
the
soon.
Big Beautiful program. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Say hello to Ivy for me.
I certainly will. All right, MichiganBackroads.com for Ron Rademacher. We'll take a break. Again, he's right. I'm live in Washington, D.C., and the Christmas tree in the White House, it's from the great state of Michigan. Why wouldn't it be? I'll be right back. Constitutional carry is what it's called if you are not otherwise prohibited from owning and keeping a gun. There'd be no further paperwork. It's happened in a number of states now, constitutional carry. My next guest, who I've gotten to know pretty well over the last couple of years, and I've grown to like quite well. Jason Wolford is a Republican from Howell. He's a state representative in Michigan. He's joining me now because he wants to consider this in Michigan. Jason, welcome back to the program.
Brother, thank you for having me again. I appreciate you. I thank God for you, and I thank God for your show. And I just pray that that's going to continue, and it's going to continue to expand, and that no weapon formed against you or your show would prosper in Jesus' name. But glad to be here, and I'm so thankful for it. Amen.
Amen to that. I appreciate that. I do, Jason, more than you may realize. I do. That's a great thing to say. Let's talk about constitutional carry. See, for me, I don't mind that people in Michigan get trained and get taught about the equipment. Some states say constitutional carry only. But I'm a guy who thinks that we should be teaching gun safety in middle school. I mean, there are 350 million guns in America. People are going to come across them that know nothing about them. That's a dangerous situation, potentially. But tell me about what you're thinking here when it comes to CPL rights for legal adults.
Yeah, so House Bill 4586, it simply adjusts or fixes current statute law. So right now in the state of Michigan, and this is very important for people to hear, if you're 18 years old, you can buy a gun from a private owner, and then you can open carry. However, with current law, you cannot at 18 years old go into a store, buy a gun, fill out paperwork, and then get your concealed weapons permit, which is absolutely ludicrous. And so this bill fixes that. So it doesn't change any of the rules, the laws. As a matter of fact, I think this actually enhances, because you go from people that can buy a gun privately, which we're obviously going to continue and we support, to doing open carry, to being able to walk into a store, fill out paperwork, and then get your concealed weapons permit. I mean, I joined the Marine Corps when I was 18 years old. And if this law, I'll put it this way, I was able at 18 years old, at 19 years old, to fire M249 saw, M60, throw frag grenades, fire rocket launchers, you name it, we fired, and I did that at 19 years old. However, those same people in Michigan can't go and buy a gun and take the course to conceal carry. Now, some of those that are against this, of course, the Democrats and those radicals, they say that this is too young. Well, you already can buy that, but let's think about what they say you can do at 16. They want 16-year-olds to be able to vote. They are continuing and allowing children to chop off body parts and call them something themselves that they aren't from the time that they were born. And so this is such an agenda on the pushback on this, but this is supported. Nearly half of the states already have this, as you mentioned, Steve. And so this is restoring those constitutional freedoms. The federal government already ruled that age limits as it relates to 18, that they're unconstitutional. It violates their Second Amendment.
Let's compare that, if we could, Jason, to what the Democrats would like to see in Michigan. They want to change the rules, a lot of them. They want to make it so there are no modern rifles. They want to make it so you can't purchase a firearm until you're 21. And the list goes on and on and on. They held hearings, but they weren't serious, I don't think. Tell the folks about some of the things that the Democrats are trying to push in Michigan.
Well, I mean, we saw it in just even in women's sports, right? They continue to hold up our bill that passed the House, keeping men, if you so-called could call them that, men out of women's sports. They continue to, as a matter of fact, when that bill passed the House, when I did my speech on the floor, two Democrats were literally hissing like snakes. They were screaming. I mean, this is just a continued assault on our children. They don't like accountability, and so we just see the continued overreach into the lives of our private citizens. We see it in them taking our money and overtaxing. We see it, as you said, kids don't even nowadays, a lot of them at the young age, they need to be taught about firearms. We see hunting that is is way down. Licenses are down because people through the Democrats have been scared of guns. And we got to protect and give our young ladies also the right to protect themselves. Women between the ages of 18 and 22 are in the highest category for assault. And so we need to allow them to also protect themselves.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look, the largest growing number of people that are getting concealed pistol licenses, CPLs as they're called in Michigan, are women. Women are the number one growing metric of people that are buying and owning guns in America for the very obvious reasons to protect themselves and their families and their well-being, right?
Absolutely. You know, this also is about teaching responsibility, right? This gets people to come in, be able to get acclimated, feel good, and stop denying people their rights. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. If we're telling our young women and young men, those young adults, that they can go and serve and die, potentially die for our country, but we're telling them that they can't walk into a store and buy a firearm, filling out all the proper paperwork, and then being able to carry is ludicrous. And so I'm going to continue to fight that fight. When I ran, I said that we had a government that was out of control. We were in an economic crisis, and our women and children were under attack. And as you've seen, Steve, I'm holding to those promises. One of those promises was returning and reminding people of their constitutional freedoms, and this is one, and it's a big one. And so there'll be more to come with gun legislation from our team and from our office.
But until there's a change in the Senate, as long as the Republicans hold the state House and can get control of the state Senate and maybe the governor's mansion, then this legislation can move forward. Otherwise, you're going to get blocked every step of the way, aren't you?
Yep, but it's also a good reminder for those, just as you said, coming up in the next election, for those people to get out and vote in the Senate race, and of course the governor, reminding them of the constitutional, the constitutional takeaways from the Dems, and so this should encourage people to get out and vote, and it also sets us up for when we do win the Senate and the governor, that these are bills that we can get through right away.
You know what's remarkable to me, Jason, is this. The firearm gun season just ended on Sunday, and then another one will start here at the end of the week. But 600,000, give or take, hunters hit the field every year in Michigan on November the 15th. And yet most of those people don't vote. They don't vote. I'll give you 20 seconds here for the last word. Hunters need to vote to protect gun rights. Last word to you.
Yeah, look, voting does matter. We've seen it. Okay, we've seen it in elections where just one vote could make the difference, and we've seen cheating, right? So we've got to be so big and so strong in showing up at the polls. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, as those that care about this country, about this state, do not believe the hyperbole, the lies that voting doesn't matter. It matters. We need you. It's your responsibility for people who wore a uniform, who died for you, to give you the right to get out and vote. God bless you. Thank you, Steve.
God bless you. Jason Wolford, always appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Have a great day.
There you have it. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Ivy will be here, of course. The best part of the program, straight ahead. All right, back to it now as we begin the best part of the program. Else, all across this broadcast world, it's Ivy time. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Ivy.
Good morning, Steve.
What happened?
What do you mean?
Oh, there she is. My monitor froze for just a moment. Just a moment. I didn't see it pop up, and I'm like, and I thought my life was ruined. But no, there you are. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning.
Yeah.
Are you hearing me,
morning.
Steve?
I'm frozen again. Yeah.
Okay, but
yeah,
can you hear
I'm
me?
hearing you just fine.
Okay, well, that's all right. We can work through that. As long as you can hear me, that's what matters.
That's right. I can hear you. Even when you're not around, I hear your voice in my head. Don't eat that. Take your vitamins. Be good. Don't hurt yourself. I hear those things all the time.
Oh my gosh. So, we talk a lot about everything, honestly. But one of the things that recently we've been talking about, and I've been really frustrated with, is, this discontent, that people being angry about, oh, the economy is not good enough, and nothing is being turned around, and Trump is not fulfilling his promises. And I'm like, the guy hasn't even been in office a year. The amount of deals that he's put together in this amount of time, and all of these jobs, the big beautiful bill, all the things that are going to unleash our economy are going to start happening in 2026.
Well, how about the thing that I was in the Roosevelt room with him yesterday? As you know, I was in there with him, got a question talking about the economy, speaking of that. But $6.25 billion being put up by Michael Bell and the Bell Foundation, Dell that is, excuse
Incredible.
me, Michael Dell and the Dell Foundation, to give 25 million kids $250, kids that are 10 and under, in certain zip codes that have a median income of $150,000 or less. That coupled with what was in the big beautiful bill for kids that are 2 and under to get $1,000 into these Trump accounts, which are basically 401ks for kids. They talk about a life-changing opportunity, and you can't cash it in until you're at least 18. Well, according to Ted Cruz yesterday, if you max out the donations, which can come from anybody, a parent, a grandparent, a friend, a guardian, doesn't matter, that account could be worth $175,000 when you're 18 years old, $750,000 when you're 35 if you don't touch it. I mean, that's life-changing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible. And I don't know what it is about our cats, but anyhow, they always just want to be in my face. Anyhow, it is incredible. And you do also have to be under $150,000 of household income, correct? So this is like for folks who are in the middle class, single family homes, who really, don't have a lot of opportunity to save for their children's future. And this allows them the opportunity to do that. It's incredible, incredible. And it also levels the playing field. So, hey, we know that college education is really expensive. We know that things are getting more expensive. And here's an opportunity that you have now to be able to plan for your children's future. And whether college education is right for everyone or not, I don't think it is. I think more people need to go into the trades, all people, women and men combined. And that is a great opportunity. You want to go make $100,000 a year, there's lots of opportunities to do that now. But when you were sitting there in the Roosevelt room yesterday, and there was actually a reporter who said, well, that money is taxable once they take it out. I'm like, why are we focused on the one negative thing? Can we have some positivity about what this actually means for, middle income folks?
And I was standing there wondering as he's answering questions, and then talk to me for a few minutes there. What are going to be the Trump-hating crowd's response to, hey, here's money for kids to have a chance to go to college, to buy a house, to pursue their American dream? What's the criticism going to be? And of course, you point out, well, they're going to be taxable. It's free money.
Exactly. Well, I want to get, before we get too far into the segment, I want to play a couple things for you, because during this cabinet meeting yesterday, the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, made some comments. Anthony, go ahead and play that bite one.
It's an honor to serve with this great team that you've assembled, and I just want to pick up on something you said.
That's not the right one.
You hit the nail.
As I sit here today, I can't be more proud of how you did it, sir. You've created the greatest cabinet. It is a joy to be at this table.
One thing we will mention, so they came to see me from Intel. and they had a problem. I said, look, we'll fix your problem, but I think the United States is entitled to 10% of your company. And the chairman looked at me and he goes, you have a deal. Tell them, how much money have we made since I made that deal?
It's only $40 billion.
40 billion.
Okay, you can come back to us now.
We made
$40 billion the United States has made for this deal. Who writes about this? Who reports on this? Nobody. They just want to. You're not doing anything effective. You are Nazi. Da, 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 da. I mean, come on, people.
Yeah, no, you do. And that's the important thing. Ivy, you make it happen, and we do. That's, and we've had these discussions. We were having them yesterday with some of the folks in the press room. Look, I'm an opinion guy, but everything we do is based in fact.
Mm-hmm.
We check our facts. We do our homework. You know that. You see, are you done working yet? You don't know, because I'm still fact checking some other things. We make sure that our integrity and our fact checking is second to none, and that's why things like you just reported are so important.
Right. I mean, you're an opinion guy, but your opinion just doesn't come magically out of the air. You actually do a tremendous amount of research, and honestly, it's opinion, like you said, opinion based on fact. But we don't have too much time here, so I don't think I can get to the next thing. But the vice president in the cabinet meeting yesterday is just tearing into the media because, again, it's just this constant negative reporting.
Always.
But I really think that 2026 is going to be a banner year. I think with the big, beautiful bill, it's going to unleash, again, if we can think back before COVID, how the economy was just on fire. Trump's economy was on fire, and we're going to have that again. And you often wonder, was this this whole COVID lockdown, let's destroy Trump's presidency? You wonder a little bit about that.
That's all it's about. Anything they can do to undermine him. That's why I want to know what they're going to say about giving money to children in neighborhoods that don't make a lot of money. I think that's a brilliant plan, but they'll find some way to denigrate it. Ivy, always appreciate seeing you. I love you. I wish you were here.
I love you too, Steve.
Well, the program today brought to you by NeuroGuard Plus. Stop concussions before they ever happen. Dr. Michael Hutchinson has patented a mouth guard for athletes in all sports, and using this mouth guard prevents concussions almost completely. Those using this breakthrough technology only suffer concussions 0.26% of the time or less. It also increases strength and speed by up to 16%, lift more weight, jump higher, run faster. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can trust Michigan State University, Wayne State University. They tested the NeuroGuard Plus and certified the results. It is the perfect gift for anybody in any contact sport at all. I don't care what you do. You, the kids, anybody. NeuroGuardPlus.com. NeuroGuardPlus.com. Promo code Gruber will save you 10%. It's a great gift for women's basketball players, football players, all sorts of great folks. And you can find out more. I'm going to be back at the White House here in a short while. Another big announcement from the president today. We don't know what it is. It's kind of fun that way, insofar as it's kind of a surprise. Yesterday's surprise, of course, was Michael Dell and the Dell Foundation putting out $6.25 billion and encouraging all their other friends, their philanthropic friends, to put more money in the pot. I mean, here's a couple. Mr. and Mrs. Dell, $6.25 billion. That's $6.25 billion to seed the pot. And what a remarkable thing to be that charitable with that kind of money. It is, to me, impressive, to say the least. And I tip my hat to them. And this wouldn't happen under another president. It happens under this one. It happens under this one. And so look for that to grow. Look for the opportunities to help out America's kids to grow and to be enhanced throughout the remainder of the days of this presidency, another 3 years to go. But look for more of this. Look for more of this. I'll have a complete report of today's activities at the White House. Tomorrow, some world leaders will be in the Oval Office. I'll be there, and I look forward to that. So stay with us here for all these special programs on Steve Gruber Show, live from Washington, D.C. Fight the good fight and keep the faith. God bless America. I am Steve Gruber. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then.